audience? I don't see anyone.
Yes. John Engdahl from Pulte Homes.
Oh, hi, Mr. Engel. How are you today?
I'm well. How are you?
Good, thank you.
I apologize. I couldn't get the audio and the video working, so you just get my voice.
That's okay. We're not going to be able to see your good-looking face tonight, I guess.
You're welcome.
Okay. I heard you look a little bit like George Clooney. Is that true?
Not according to my wife, no.
Okay. All right. So, why don't you give us, there was, I think the commission is aware of the impacts that we had at the site related to the rain event and the sediment and and trained in the stormwater that impacted the wetlands. So if you can just kind of give us an overview of where you folks are and what kind of mitigation has been implemented since this occurred, that would be helpful.
Well, I'm going to ask Mike Rosati, who is our environmental monitor. He has been going back and forth with Dawn and also instructing us on mitigation plans. So I'll let him give you the details. Mike, are
Okay.
you?
Is he on the line?
He is.
Okay.
If he can figure out how to talk.
Mr. Rosati, are you with us?
Well, maybe, I know he's on the call. He just must be in trouble. So I'll give you kind of the overview.
Yeah, he's actually on the line. He's muted though, so I don't know. Okay, why don't you start, and when he gets his.
Okay, so we obviously had a discharge. There were a couple of areas that were taken, but I think a lot of it had to do with our larger retention pond at the bottom of the job. Apparently, there's some old rock fill under there. Some of the water got through that. We think that's a majority of the issue. That's the area. So we've corrected that with different layers of material. I believe Mike had Bader Engineering out there to look at it as well. We beefed up the erosion control. Mike had sent Dawn an email with a list of the things that we anticipate doing, have done to this point. We also contacted New England Environmental, or the new company name, to
WCA?
Yeah, to look at the wetland area and give us their opinion on that. And there is a letter associated with a package. I don't know if you've had a chance to review that letter or not.
Received it on Monday, and I haven't had a chance to review it yet, but I do have it, posted now.
Yeah, I haven't seen that either.
So it's basically, I don't know if you know Mickey Marcus, environmental scientist, and his company used to be New England Environmental, now it's SWCA. We had them look at the wetlands and give us recommendations for remediation.
Okay, and those recommendations have been implemented?
Some have, and some are up for discussion.
And by up for discussion, what do you mean by that?
What the conservation would like us to do.
Okay.
In addition to these recommendations.
Okay.
Well,
So I think
Jeff, you
Mr.
might wanna-
Rosati is unmuted at this point. Mr. Rosati, do you have anything else to add? I'll take that as a no.
He's probably talking.
Okay. So,
Jeff,
I
I
went
think
out
the
to,
conservation staff would need a little more time to review all this,
yeah,
digest it. It just came in yesterday. I had a chance to download it. That was it.
Okay,
okay,
and that's fine. We wanted to try to get as much information to you as quickly as we could. We obviously know there was an issue. Nobody's denying or running away, and we will do whatever the commission needs us to do to number one, make sure it doesn't happen again. And number two, to remediate any issues that we have from this event.
okay. All right, so we appreciate that, Mr. Linda. Thank you. So one of the, I went out and visited the site, after we were notified of this event, and just, driving around some of the work areas, I noticed that there was a lot of the erosion control barriers that were, that weren't functional. They were either knocked down or, had soil pushed over them. The silt fence, wasn't working as it, as it should be. So I would just ask, I think that's a fairly simple, short-term mitigation measure to make sure that you go out there and make sure that, all the existing erosion controls are functioning as they're supposed to be.
Absolutely.
And, we can have our conservation staff take a look at the remediation. So there's an example right there that Don has, a few examples. So I think that's a short-term measure that can be implemented without having input from the conservation staff. Just do a survey around the construction site, make sure all existing erosion controls are constructed properly and are functional. And then we'll take a look at the, mitigation plan, remediation plan that you guys submitted, and we'll offer our comment on that. That makes sense.
Absolutely.
Okay. It's springtime, early summer. We're still having these, high precipitation events. We just had one this past weekend. So I think it's critical that these erosion controls be functional to prevent this type of thing from happening going forward.
Through the chair?
Yes, Don.
Yep, they were able to take pictures of after the most recent rain event, and it looks like, we didn't have erosion, sediment reaching the old basins on the town's land, as did previously happen. So sort of shows the BMPs they've incorporated since the violation have been an improvement.
Okay, good. That's good to hear.
Hello, Don.
Mike?
Hello. Yes, I finally got into with audio. Sorry about that. I can update everybody if you'd like. I can give you an overview right now if you'd like, or if it's too late, just let me know.
I think we're all set, Mr. Rosati, at this point.
I would let you know that all the erosion controls are in place and they're all up to date. That was done on day one. And we've done a lot. They've done a lot of work over the last 3 or 4 weeks to improve the situation up there.
Okay, good. That's helpful. Mr. Engdahl gave us a kind of an overview of what you guys have been doing. So I don't think we need to go through it a second time, but we appreciate it. And I don't know if you were listening to the conversation while you were on mute, but our conservation staff is going to look at the mitigation measures that are proposed and get back to you guys with comments.
Yeah, the long and the short of that is they're thinking we should allow the growing season to go because plants are already growing through the sediment that was the minor amounts of sediment that are there. We really felt that we'd do more damage to get in there, but we really thought we should evaluate it at the end of the growing season to see how the wetland returned, and if we needed to do something more dramatic, we could do that.
Okay, that sounds good. Let us, as I said, let our staff review it and get back to you.
Very good.
Just to see if that makes sense, okay?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. I don't know what happened to my pencil. Okay, so let's move on to the Maspinock Woods. And I have to read this. This is a new filing. So the Hopkinton Conservation Commission will hold a public hearing on Tuesday, June 9, 2020 at 6:30 p.m. virtually online to hear all persons interested in a notice of intent filed by Maspinock Woods LLC to raise a single-family house and construct a new single-family house with associated site work. The location is 5 West Elm Street, Assessors Map R23, Block 4, Lot 0. Good evening, gentlemen. Do we have anyone from?
Yeah. My name is
Maspinock.
Pete Barberry,
Mr.
counsel from
Barberry.
Maspinock. And Bob Paxson is the engineer, so we'll let him take you through everything. But the gist of it is there's an existing house and septic system on the property that was approved as part of the special permit for the development behind it. Also had a trail running through this property. Maspinock took over that project, is now in the process of finishing that off, as you know. And this plan is to raise the existing dwelling to use the existing septic system and to construct a new dwelling closer to the road with moving everything outside of the jurisdictional areas as much as we can. So there's a reduction from existing in both the vernal pool as well as all the buffer areas. So we'll let Bob take you through that. We also have received 2 sets of comment letters from your consultant, which I believe we've answered as well. So Bob can take you through exactly the plans.
Okay, thank you.
Can you hear me?
We can.
Okay, I don't know why you can't see me, but you can't see me though, can you? I can see you. Oh, okay, good. All right. So this, what we're proposing to do is, this is part of the Maspinock Woods development. This was the original home of Elena Wright, who was the original owner of the property. He abandoned this as part of the sale of the property. And originally, it was going to be when the original developers were going to just try to reconstruct and remodel it. It was only 800 square feet. It's on a concrete block foundation. It has an existing septic system that we did a Title V inspection once she moved out. It passed at that point and hasn't had any use since then. So we looked at it structurally. The building is not sound. The foundation isn't supportive enough to add another story. So the applicant is proposing to just raise that structure, repair the area that it was in with new vegetation, and build another structure closer to the street, which would finalize the development of this, this 31 unit Maspinock Woods, open space development. So it's the last unit to be constructed. They've already constructed 30 units in 15 buildings. And in that development, there's not one unit that it was within any kind of buffer of the wetlands. The only work that was performed in the buffer of the wetlands for the entire development was the construction of the detention basins. So we have this one last unit that requires us to intrude a little bit into the 50-foot wetland buffer and a little bit into the 25-foot buffer. Mostly within the 25-foot is to remove an existing shed that's there and restore that area where it is. Most of the work within the 50-foot is just some grading and really the construction of the swale of the trail was already approved. And it's because there's an existing water line that was already constructed from West Elm to the development. So that disturbance has been done previously. And then we have an issue with a vernal pool buffer that exists from a small vernal pool on the abutters, mostly on the abutters property. And I don't know if any of the members were part of this presentation when we first came up with this development, but the owner at the time of that property was trying to do whatever he could to stop it, and it was that's I call it the spike vernal pool. The only thing they ever found in that little area was caddisfly lava. One instance of one caddisfly lava, and if they deemed it a vernal pool, I don't think anybody's looked at it since the original designation. I'm not even sure that it's still there, but we're treating it as if it is, and we're trying to restore some area adjacent to the property line with some vegetation. We've put a planting table for the vernal pool restoration. And other than that, we're just looking to construct this house with the driveway and the grading, and then clean the lot up. I don't know if you've gone by it, but it's not a very attractive looking piece of property right now, and we would like to finish the development by finishing up with this one single family 2-bedroom house, basically the size of one of the half of the duplexes that we were constructed in the development.
Okay.
The other aspect, if you go back to the original development plan for Maspinock, yeah, on the very bottom of that, on the right-hand side, you see the house, and you see a little squiggly line on to the lower end of that, down right there. That was a proposed trail, which is shown on the plans that everybody has approved, but it's pretty close to the wetland. There's no reason for that to make that jog as it is. So the other thing we're doing as part of this plan is moving that anywhere between 15 and 20 feet away from the wetland line. You can see the little line right to the left side of the house, so that we're straightening out that jog so we're farther away from the wetlands with that trail.
Is that like a just like a cleared trail, or is it a paved trail, or
No,
stone dust?
It's a trail that runs around the perimeter of the whole special permit development, so it connects it and brings people out to West Main Street, so theoretically they could walk down to the shopping center.
Right, I get that, but what's the construction of? Is it paved, stone dust, or just?
It's not to be paved. It should just be some like a wood chips type scenario with just a walking trail.
Okay.
It's just for passive recreation. We don't want any vehicles or any mountain bikes, or it's just for passive recreation. People can walk around outside the development. Go down to the boathouse that's been approved, and actually get out to West Elm.
Okay. All right. So you got, so let me first, just bring Matt into the conversation. Matt, have you, I'm reviewing or have your letter, that you put together dated April 13th, revised May 12th. Have you had a chance to look at the supporting information that the applicant has provided?
Yes, I think they've addressed really all the comments that I had brought up. The only one to me that maybe still stands out a little bit does get back to the trail. When I was out there in April, looking at the site, one area where the trail is proposed to go through, set up in the back of the house there, had what I would consider some fairly significant standing water. I don't know if the wetland may have sort of evolved. Yeah, right there. So I believe that's where the trail is proposed to go through. And I guess just sort of from a functionality standpoint, whether that really needs some sort of a little bog bridge or something like that. Most of the year it may be perfectly dry, but we didn't have an especially wet spring this year, and that was the condition. So, again, the wetland boundary is already approved, but so I'm not necessarily raising the issue as more wetlands out there, just functionality of the trail through that.
I think there's a possibility that there's maybe a slight depression there that was caused by the construction of the water line, and maybe it just needs to be regraded.
Yeah, that's where the water line went through, so
Yes,
they might not have graded that property.
Yeah.
So we can do that as part of the final approval.
But
And that, again, that'll be the trail through there.
Is that in buffer zone, Matt, or is that outside our jurisdiction?
No, it's in buffer zone.
Yeah, that would be within. Yeah, that would all be within buffer zone.
Right, so, yeah, I think we, rather than regrading it and just filling it in, my sense is you put in some type of, wooden, bridge structure, just for people to walk over.
It doesn't seem to be connected to anything. It just reminds me, it's the first time I've seen the pictures of it, but it just looks like a puddle. I mean, it looks like an area of standing water, which you might, it might just, if it's not hydraulically connected to anything, you might create a mosquito breeding and an issue of I don't know, just.
Well, I think it's more than just a very short-term puddle, just because it did have wetland vegetation growing in it. It's
Right.
kind of hard to tell from the photo, but there was soft brush and sedges and things coming out.
Right, because that water line was one of the first things that was installed in this site. That's probably been like that for 5-6 years. If they didn't grade it properly, then that's what's going to happen. But I mean, we'll do it. I mean, it's just the only thing that we're going to do there is construct the trail. So the trail is only going to be, it's not going to be as wide as what that area is shown. So we can either try to skirt that area or some way of bridging it with a wooden bridge or something. But it's just be part of the trail.
Jeff, this is Melissa. Can you, Don, can you pull up the site plan again? I just wanted to see what the potential was if you did move the trail over a little bit to avoid. Is it this area where the wetland kind of fingers out towards the trail? Is that what we're talking about? Yeah, right where the cursor is.
I believe that's where it is.
Yeah, that's a water line, so the trail would be right over that.
Yeah, so there's no reason why we can't put a little bend in the trail and get it and move it over in that area. That's not a problem. We could go around that area and get and so we're not disturbing it and just leave it alone.
I think that would probably be the least intrusive.
Yeah. I agree, Melissa. I think that's fine. I mean, we're not talking about a paved or stone dust trail, it's basically just a wooded trail, so,
Right.
I think you just need to kind of circumnavigate that area there. Okay. So Matt, that was your only comment?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, they're proposing to, I don't know if they want to talk a little bit about the proposed restoration work within the vernal pool buffer zone, just to present that to the commission, but I thought that was fine.
All right. I guess, my only thought is, it's a 2-bedroom house. The garage is really, a significant, intrusion into the vernal pool buffer zone there. Can we make that a 1-car garage as opposed to a 2-car garage?
I think I'm trying to think if you could do it as a two in line. The problem is, and this goes back to before, and it's certainly not your problem, but it's a problem with this lot in this. The original plan for Maspinock had a driveway coming through this area, and that was the entrance to the development. And that's the way it was filed. So this lot was part of the overall development. Through whether it was your process or the planning board process. Again, this was all before I was involved and before Bruce Wheeler, the current owner, was involved. The access, as you know, was shifted off the other side, and this just became the water line and the trail. Why this property, to be honest with you, was not taken out of the overall development, I don't know. But right now, and it's been recorded as part of the master deed, that this property has to be part of the overall development, despite the fact that it really has no use of the roadway system and everything else. But it's got to be tied in. So every other unit within the development has the double garage, and consistency and purposes of determining percentages and payments and fees and all that stuff. It just, again, not your financial issue, but it makes it problematic to do anything less than what we're doing. The overall development within the vernal pool area from the viewpoint of the existing building is a reduction from what's existing. The same thing from the viewpoint of all the buffer zones. So this house, even with that garage and all the buffer zones in the vernal pool, is less than what's existing. So we're hoping you'll accept that.
So say that again. Can you just clarify that? What do you mean it's less than?
We had submitted as part of the original development that the existing house had a footprint within the 125-foot vernal pool of 513 feet. And with this plan, including the garage, we're at what is it? 395 feet within the vernal pool. So we've got, 100 plus out of 500 square foot reduction of structure within the vernal pool.
Okay.
Never mind the 2,000 square foot overall reduction within the vernal pool area.
So that was originally proposed when the notice of intent was filed, right? When the original notice of intent was filed, that's what was proposed.
Yeah, that was the comparison between the existing house, 513 square feet within the 125 vernal pool.
Yeah, okay. And there was no restoration that was originally proposed either.
On the far side, we've added that. Yep, we've increased.
So that's new. Okay. Don, can you just go back to the site plan, please?
Sure. So just bringing up, this is the original plan that they submitted with no buffer zone restoration. And now this is the revised plan.
And that's all vernal pool restoration.
Yeah. Okay.
And here's the buffer zone restoration information details right here.
Okay. And I guess the last question I have is, So how old is the septic system that's there? And has it been inspected by the Board of Health?
It has been inspected. I inspected it as a certified Title V septic inspector back when this project first started. And it passed at that point, and it basically has not been used since. So there's no reason to think that it's still not constructed. But the Board of Health has received all the information regarding the septic system, and I do not believe there's any issue with the Board of Health.
Okay. Okay. So let me, at this point, I think all my questions are answered. Let me open it up to the other commission members, see if they have any questions or comments.
This is Janine through the chair. I just have a comment on the two-car garage. Right now, it's placed flush with the back of the house. If you actually move it up and place it flush with the front of the house, you can get a good portion of it out of the 125.
You can see we can move it a little bit forward there, but that dash line is the street setback line. So we could probably pull it up a little, to that line, leave a little bit of drop. There may be a door there, Bruce, do you know?
Yeah, because it looks like flush to the front of the house is still behind the setback line a little bit.
Right.
Yeah, that's a good point, Janine. Yeah, that's a really good point. You can pull that garage up.
Yep.
That pulls it out of the vernal pool buffer zone.
Sure.
Okay. All right. Any other comments from the commission members?
This is Jim. I have a question. So I understand that the septic system is passed now, but has there been any consideration for a reserve area? I don't see one on the plan when I was looking at it. Is there a reserve area?
The reserve area is part of the original design. It was designed with a reserve area. So there is a reserve area in between. It's designed with a reserve between the existing trenches.
Okay.
So if there was an issue with what happens, we could construct the additional area within the existing area.
Okay, great. Thank you. Last question. The shed, I don't remember exactly what happened with the shed, but is the shed raised now? It's not been replaced, right?
No, it's just going to be taken down. It hasn't been yet, but it will be.
Okay, thank you.
Now, this is Ed, and my concerns relate to the septic system in the buffer zone and essentially the entirety of the house and garage in the 100-foot buffer zone. And as a general sort of thing, I understand that we sometimes, accept this, but we do it with the idea that we're going to get something back. And so I don't think the proposed vernal pool buffer restoration area does it for me.
Well, yeah, but you can't look at it as a standalone lot. It's part of the whole development. And you people are getting a trail system. You've got open space that we provided for within the entire development, and not one other unit in this development was built within the buffer, the 100-foot buffer or any buffer. So
I think we understand that, Mr. Parks, and I appreciate that. And it's previously disturbed area as well, so that's another point. But your point's taken. There's considerable open space that was set aside. The trail system, minimal incursion in the buffer zone with the development. So, your point is taken.
Thank you.
Okay. So if there's no other comments from the commission, let me open it up to public comment. If there's anyone who has a comment, please raise your hand so I can see it. Let me just scroll through. Doesn't look like we have any comments. So I'll give it another 10 seconds here if there's public comment.
Through the chair,
Yep. Yes,
just
Don.
want to make a FYI point. The plan does show a 25-foot wetland buffer, but it's just for informational purposes. This isn't a grandfathered lot, so it still has the 50-foot limit of work, limit of structure, but it's a previously disturbed area.
Right. Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Don. Okay.
This is Janine. I have another question. So the existing house in base is going to be removed in the shed. What will happen to that space? Will it just go back to grass, or will it be natural buffer zone?
More than likely, it'll go to grass. I mean, we have the septic system is sitting back there. I mean, a good portion of it would be grass. You'd want to have somewhat of a backyard. I mean, we could. I mean, it's probably if you can, John. Can you put that photo of that existing house up for us? So you can see there isn't really. I don't know if you can't really tell, but there isn't a lot of area behind it. That's I mean, you can see what it looks like now. It's probably what's behind the house itself will just stay the way it is, and up to the house would be up to the limits of the removed structure would be grassed. And stuff behind what's ever behind the structure will just stay as it is. You can see it's disturbed right up to it now. So we would just remove the structure and fill in the whatever the foundation hole is, and then probably loam and seed that. But everything from the structure back would stay as it is.
All right. And do we have PIBs identified on any of these plans?
We can make that a standard, it's usually a standard condition at the limit of work at the erosion control barrier.
Yeah. So
You'd want to protect this area and, the area behind.
yeah, I just don't see them identified, but we'll put that as a standard condition. The applicants submit the proposal to Don and Matt in terms of where the so what are you proposing as the PIB, Mr. Paxson?
Well, we would probably along the erosion control, which is the limit of disturbance. So the limit of our proposed development area, which we see, and I mean, I wouldn't want it to go.
So are you amenable to putting like a split rail fence in there with?
Yeah, that'd be fine.
With
Sure.
with the medallions that say beyond.
Yep, that's fine.
Okay.
Yeah, we can do that without a problem.
Okay. All right, so we'll put that as a condition. The trail is another special condition, just having that.
Yep.
Meander outside the area where we have the standing water. Okay.
Through
All
the
right.
chair, through the chair.
Yep.
This is good. Do we put anything in the standard conditions about the kinds of fertilizer and restrictions on the use of fertilizers on properties adjacent to places like this?
We do.
We do.
Yes. Yeah, that's a standard condition, Ed.
Thank you.
All right, I think we're ready for a vote.
Oh, sorry. Through the chair, it's Carrie.
Yes. Yep, Carrie.
So because we've been having some issues where they have a planned septic or something like this, and then they had to move them. So what's our condition for that? I'm concerned if the Board of Health comes back and doesn't approve it. Do we have like a special condition where they have to come back if they're moving it, or how do we break that in?
That would be a project change. So
Yeah,
any project change
change.
would have to
Okay.
be run by the commission.
Okay, got it.
Okay, any other comments? All right, if I can get a motion to close and approve the notice of intent as discussed with the special conditions.
Subject to a revised plan for the garage?
Subject to the revised plan with the PIB identification and the garage, yep. Within 2 weeks, is that okay with you folks? Mr.
Sure.
Paxson, Mr.
I'll have it before the end of the week.
Okay. All right, is there a motion?
This is Melissa. I'll make a motion.
And a second, please?
Jim will second.
Jim will second, and we'll go through the roll call vote. Melissa,
Aye.
Carrie,
Aye.
Jim,
Aye.
Ed,
No.
Janine,
Aye.
Ted is not present, and this is Jeff, and I'm an aye.
Thank
So
you.
The motion
Thank you.
passes. Okay, gentlemen, thank you.
Thank you. Good night.
Have a good evening.
Jeff, this is Melissa. I'm gonna have to jump off the call
Okay,
now. I'll come back if I can, if it's still going on, but I just don't know what time.
okay.
Okay.
Thanks for letting us know, Melissa.
Yep.
All right, so our next hearing is Nation, 6 Leon's Way. This is a notice of intent for a single-family home. And I think I saw Nation's on the call. Let me just read this one. The Conservation Commission will hold a public hearing on Tuesday, June 9th, 2020 at 6:30 PM virtually online to hear all persons interested in a notice of intent, followed by 20th Century Homes for site work associated with the construction of a single-family house. The location is 6 Leon's Way, Assessors Map R12, Block 5, Lot 3. Good evening.
Hello. Can you hear me?
Barely.
All right, I'll speak up.
So who are we speaking with?
This is Mary Ann DiPinto. I didn't have any place to type my name in.
Okay. Hi,
The
Mrs.
open
DePin.
garden.
So you're the representative of 20th Century Homes?
Yes, and I don't know if Ron Nation's online as well or on the phone.
I think he is. I
Okay.
saw him join the call.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
Why don't you give us an overview, please?
Well, I did the wetlands delineation and Lucas Environmental reviewed it. They had questions with flags that were way off site and turned out that I did not need to go back and revisit those. But he agreed with the flagging that was done that created the buffer zone on the site. There is a field area, the stormwater detention for the roadway that services the houses there. This is one of the last lots on the cul-de-sac. And the stormwater is just off the site and drains into that wetland that you see at the toe of the steep slope.
Okay.
You got it. And what you see is the 100-foot buffer zone from that. The house is outside of it. The septic system as well. So it's grading.
So the grading from the well is inside the 100-foot buffer zone.
Yeah, it's the grading for the house and
Okay.
lessen the slope.
And the septic's outside the 100-foot. Okay. Erosion controls during the well drilling. All right. So Matt, do you want to just, looks like they've addressed, or why don't you weigh in on this and let us know if your comments have been addressed? Here's a
Sure.
good then, but
Yeah, so as Marianne said, I had a couple minor questions about the wetland boundary, but it was really far enough away from the project where it wasn't worth discussing further. So the wetland boundary is all set. During the inspection, it was noted that a portion of the wetland appears to be routinely mowed. So a recommendation would be as this lot is developed, that situation be discontinued. There was a fairly significant area of dumping of woody debris, stumps and brush in the rear of the property that the commission may want to discuss potentially having pulled out as part of the project. There's also an area where it looks like ATVs or something are accessing the rear of the property. And they had dumped some sand back there that was sort of creeping into the wetland. So there's a couple areas where there's some minor existing disturbance that, just might want to be discussed so that presumably a new owner wouldn't continue that, but might be worth a special condition or something just to clarify that.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. And I'm sure it's the neighbors, it's an empty lot, so the neighbors are probably dumping debris back there. Once the new house is there, I imagine that would stop. But Mr. Pinto, on behalf of the applicant, is that those conditions amenable?
Yes, yeah, I observed the same thing. And we were trying to find someone that could pull that back, but whoever owns the lot can pull the woody debris back and a comment be made or a condition be made to prevent future impacts to wetlands.
Okay, and removal of the debris that's acceptable.
Yes.
Okay.
And then the only other comment I had, Jeff, that I'm not sure if it's been addressed or not, was I had a comment about it appeared as though they're proposing a subsurface infiltration system. I wasn't sure if the plan was updated to actually show the location of the system and have sizing calculations.
Okay. So that has not been provided, but I think we can.
Is that what's showing on there? Yeah.
Has that been updated, Mrs. DePinto?
I don't know. I don't know the answer to that.
Okay, well, why don't we do this? If you can, talk to Mr. Nation, have that added, have the calculations done, added to the plan, so we know where it is and that the sizing is acceptable. We can approve it pending review by, Matt and
Sure.
Don.
Yeah, that works.
Okay.
All right, excellent.
All right. Questions or comments from the commission?
My only comment is what a well-done drawing that's very clear and easy to follow. Thank you.
You're welcome. I didn't have any responsibility for it, though.
Okay. All right. Do we have questions or comments from the audience? Let me just see if there's any hands raised here.
There's a detail sheet attached, I believe.
Yeah.
Does it show any specs on the infiltrator? I'm having a hard time seeing, but.
Septic tank, connector, clean out, D-box.
All right.
Oh yeah, there's a roof infiltration dry well.
But no specs.
But no specs.
All right. Okay.
So just we just need some, calculation specs to ensure that the sizing is correct.
Okay.
And if we can get, that presumably within the next couple of weeks, that's acceptable. Okay, it doesn't look like there's any comments from the audience. Let me just check one more time. I don't see any hands raised. Okay, if I can get a motion to close and approve the notice of intent with the special conditions as discussed.
So moved. This is Ed.
And a second, please.
Janine,
Carrie, I'll second.
Okay, we have a second. We'll do the roll call vote. Carrie,
Aye.
Jim,
Aye.
Ed,
Aye.
Janine,
aye.
and this is Jeff, and I'm an aye. So the motion passes. Okay,
All right, excellent.
very good. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Have a good evening.
You too. Bye.
Okay, moving along. We have Keely, 60 Pine Island Road, notice of intent to raise an existing family home and build a new single-family home.
Hello.
Hi, Mr. Keely, and this is a continuation, so I don't need to read this one.
No, it's
Good
new.
evening.
Yeah, you have to read it.
Yeah, it's new, Jeff.
Oh, it is?
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you, Anna. The Hopkinton Conservation Commission will hold a public hearing on Tuesday, June 9th, 2020 at 6:30 PM, virtually online to hear all persons interested in a notice of intent filed by Robert Keely to raise a single-family house and construct a new single-family house with associated site work. The location is 60 Pine Island Road, Assessors Map R33, Block 23, Lot 0. Okay, good evening, Mr. Keely.
Good evening.
You want to give us an overview of the project?
Sure.
That would be helpful.
Sure. So I
Do
have,
it either way, Bob.
if you want to do it, Bill, Bill Halsing's our civil engineer. So Bill, if you
Oh,
want.
good evening, Mr. Holson.
Yeah, good evening. Here for Bob Keely tonight. The lot is 60 Pine Island Road. It's just north of the Milford town line if you come up Pine Island Road off of Camp Street in Milford. The subject property is an existing house lot, existing house about 41 feet from Lake Maspinock with a garage. The dwelling has an on-site cesspool and, well, both non-conforming to current Title V. The plan is to redevelop the property. The work's going to consist of raising the existing structures and constructing the new dwelling, a conforming septic system, and conforming well, driveway, and other improvements. Most of it outside of the buffer zone. A number of deceased and diseased trees are proposed to be removed before the construction begins. Bob plans on putting a dock and boat lift to replace the existing dock out there in Lake Maspinock. The dock is going to sit on footpads and not have footings within the lake. Pretty much all of the lot where the construction is proposed was previously disturbed by the construction of the existing house quite a few years ago now, I'd say over 50 anyway. New house closest to Lake Maspinock is proposed to be about 45 feet. Proposed on-site septic system has been submitted to the Board of Health and approved. And part of the scheme of the layout on this lot was to keep construction as tight as we can against Pine Island Road. The proposed well is as tight as it can go up into the lot corner, followed by the septic system, which is now not a cesspool within the buffer zone, but fully outside of the buffer zone. And the house as tight as we can get it against the septic system. There's some additional impervious area proposed, but the entire roof runoff will be infiltrated into underground infiltrators. We did have a few comments from Lucas Environmental after we submitted, which we have addressed. And that was submitted probably a month and a half ago.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Mr. Halsing. So Matt, I saw that you had a few comments. Have those been addressed to your satisfaction?
Yeah, I think they've addressed all my comments. I think the only one that left remaining, I'm gonna double check this, was Dawn, was a question about the pervious pavers. Dawn, is that right? We had a question about that?
Yeah, the base, did we think it was gonna provide enough
Yeah.
infiltration?
That's right. Yeah, they did provide a specification for the pervious pavers, but in my view, it didn't look like something that might. It's either not going to infiltrate or it was likely to freeze and heave the way it appeared to be shown on the spec.
Well, perhaps underneath we could propose some gravel as opposed to just backfill.
Yeah, typically you'd have a good foot of gravel or pea stone or something under that to receive the water.
Yeah, so we can change compacted subgrade to gravel.
Okay, yeah, I think that makes sense. And that, that's beneficial to the homeowner too, because you don't have the driveway issues going forward with the heaving, right? So, if you can make that change on the plan and submit it to us, as a condition of the approval, within 2 weeks or a week, that would be great. So that was the only outstanding issue, Matt?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So I'm good. I don't have any questions. Let me open it up to the other commission members. Any comments or questions?
This is Ed, just wondering if it could be moved towards the street any further?
With the house or?
Yeah.
Well, right now we have the well as tight as it can go against the front lot line, the septic as tight as it can go against the well, and the house as tight as it can go against the septic system.
And the well has to be on the street side of the house?
Well, in order to make everything layout and work, that seems to be the best layout. And, per, town regs, we have to be, 20 feet off the street line, 10 feet off the lot line, 20 feet off of the driveway.
And so why would it be a problem to have the well on the back side of the house?
Well, that discussion was kicked around, with the architect and the client. And the challenge could be, and the Board of Health didn't want it down there anyway, but how do you service the well? That was the big question that came up.
Okay.
So the way it's laid out, it's easy to service the well and the septic system.
Okay.
Okay. Any other comments from the commission?
Yeah, Janine,
Janine?
through the chair. So I can understand why the house can't be moved up, but could it be made smaller so that it's not in the 50?
Well, that is the design from the architect. Perhaps Bob could better address that.
To meet the program elements we wanted to put in the house, this was the design that we've been working on. And it incorporates the 3-bedroom house, replacing what's there.
In its previously disturbed area, correct?
Correct.
Yes.
So it looks like the footprint of the actual dwelling doesn't get any closer to the lake. There's a screen porch that's proposed. I can't read the patio, I guess, there. It looks like the structure actually gets pulled back a little bit.
It does.
Correct.
Okay. Pervious screen porch, okay. What's underneath the screen porch? Is that foundation or?
The foundation wall run around it. And,
okay. So there's not an area underneath that. That's part of the actual.
Correct. Correct.
Okay. Okay. All right, are there any other questions from the commission? Questions from the audience? Just scroll through, see if there's any. Doesn't look like there's any questions from the audience. Okay, so I think we're ready for a vote on this. If I can get a motion to close and approve the notice of intent with the special conditions as discussed.
So moved, it's Jim.
And we have a motion from Jim and a second, please.
Janine, I'll second.
And Janine is a second. We'll do the roll call vote. So Carrie,
Aye.
Jim,
All right,
Ed,
Aye.
Janine,
Aye.
and Jeff, and I'm an aye. So the motion passes.
Thank you.
Right.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Very good, Mr. Keeley. Good luck.
Thank you. We're excited to get started.
Okay. Hopefully you'll be in by the fall.
That's at least for next summer.
Okay, good luck. Thank you.
Thank you.
Right,
Bye-bye.
good night.
Have a good evening. Okay. Moving along. The Wolf, 28 Lumber Street. This is an abbreviated notice of resource area delineation. Markonaut, you,
Jeff, it's one you're gonna read.
yep. Thank you, Don. The Hopkinton Conservation Commission will hold a public hearing on Tuesday, June 9th, 2020 at 6:30, virtually online, to hear all persons interested in an abbreviated notice of resource area delineation filed by New View, Inc. to determine the limit and regulatory status of an on-site wetland resource. The location is 28 Lumber Street, Assessors Map R23, Block 67, Lot 0. We have a representative from the Wolf.
That is myself, Nicole Hayes from Goddard Consulting.
How you doing, Mrs. Hayes?
How are you? Good.
Doing good, thanks.
So we delineate the wetlands on site. There is an isolated wetland that also is an isolated land subject to flooding and a bordering vegetated wetland. Lucas Environmental went out and peer reviewed the flags. They had a couple of changes that they requested. Then I went back out and looked at their changes that they requested. We agreed with some of them. The ones that we didn't agree with were mostly due to a non-predominance of wetland vegetation. It was more upland vegetation, upgrading of the line. We submitted a second report. I'm not sure if Lucas Environmental has had a chance to review that report or not. So that's where we are at the present time.
Hey, Matt, did you have a chance to review the second report?
Yeah, so I went back out to the site this afternoon. So this, just to back up for a second, because this is a little bit different than how we normally do this type of review on an ANRAD, but because of the whole COVID thing, and this was so fairly early on in the COVID thing that it had been flagged, I thought it was best just for me to go out on my own and hang some flags. Nicole went out and looked, as she said, either agreed or disagreed, provide the report, and then I went back out. Normally we would kind of just sort it all out in one site visit, but and maybe now, because I think there still are some outstanding items, we can do that, but that was why this got strung out a little bit differently than normal. So when I went back out today, I'll just go through. I had a brief memo that I had sent over to Dawn. Those flag B2, Nicole didn't agree with where I had changed that. I went back out and looked at it again, and the data form that the Dawn had up on the screen there demonstrate the vegetation based on the plot that I did. I feel it does meet the predominance of wetland vegetation through there. So that's the basis of that one. For B3R, I did modify my flag a little bit, but I still think the original flag needs some minor modification. B4, B5, and B6, after looking at those areas, I'm okay with the original delineation. Same thing with flag GC6, which is on sort of the back side of the BVW. And then flags GC 10, 11, and 12, Nicole had submitted in the memo some vegetation data that I kind of plugged into the data form, and then actually came out as being equal wetland and upland, so it does meet the BVW criteria, unless I'm misinterpreting the information that was submitted. And I prepared a little form for that, so Nicole can look at that and I guess comment on that as needed. And then the only other comment I had was in the memo, I had asked about the Vernal Pool. There's two areas out there. One is identified on the Mass GIS as a potential vernal pool. I think there's two areas out there that have potential. It sounded like Goddard had investigated those areas this year, and I would just like to see a little bit more information on when those investigations were done, and more information basically about that as to whether those areas should still consider to be potential vernal pools or not. So I think unless Nicole wants to agree with sort of my latest thing, which she really hasn't seen, we probably need to continue this out for a little bit more discussion.
Yeah, do you think it would be best if we could meet on site? Is that acceptable to you?
Yeah, I think we can do that and just, keep our social distancing and all that good stuff.
Yep, that sounds fine with me.
Okay. All right. So I think that makes sense. Seems like we have a little bit more homework to do on this one. So our next meeting is scheduled for the 23rd. So Nicole, can we, I guess I'll put this question to Nicole and to Matt. Do you think you'll be able to get out on site before the 23rd and come to a meeting of the minds?
I can definitely do that.
Yeah, I think that can be done.
Okay. So Nicole will continue it out to the 23rd.
Yes, please.
And then if you can just send Don an email to that effect, requesting the extension to the 23rd.
I will.
Thank you.
And through the chair?
Yep.
There's one other item. So the rear of this lot backs up to the existing nursery operations. And there's been some minor, what I would consider minor sort of impingement into the wetlands back there. And I don't know if that's something that you want to have any discussion of at this time, or it's mainly they appear to be kind of healing in plantings in the wetland with some mulch. You can kind of see in the I think that's the best picture there that kind of shows where they're essentially using some of the BVW to store some of their plants.
Just as temporary, they're planting them there until they're sold, essentially, or?
Yeah, I believe so. But it appears to be sort of an ongoing operational use. So if you look on the plan there, it's sort of in that LE4R, LE3R area, I believe.
Through the chair.
Okay. Yeah, Don, go ahead.
There's historic filings with the commission for the land down here, but there is no historic applications on file with the commission for any disturbance on this particular lot. So, sort of like, you've got like a little lawn creep, you have a little business creep onto
Yeah,
this
what-
parcel that
Do you have the
never
pictures of it?
got reviewed in the past.
Yeah, do you have pictures of it, Don?
Yes. Matt picked these up. It's near this flag when he was doing his site inspection.
So are they digging into the ground, or is it just like they're putting them there and putting, loam and mulch around them?
Yeah, they're getting plant material and just using it as an area to keep it in the ground before they sell it.
So they're not digging?
It's hard to say. They may be digging a little bit, but I think it's more of just putting down the root ball or the pot and then putting some soil or some mulch or something sort of over it just to keep it sort of more long-term storage, I guess.
So whatever natural vegetation was there has now been stripped away, and now it's a temporary plant area.
Yeah. Okay. Nicole, if you can just talk to your client about that.
Sure.
All right. Thank you. Okay. Questions or comments from the commission members? And Nicole, they can, well, I'll talk to them and I guess see what they say.
Okay.
All right, let me just see if there's any questions or comments from the audience. Doesn't look like it. Okay. All right, so we'll continue out to the 23rd. Thank you, Nicole.
All right. Thank you very much.
Have a good evening.
Thank you.
All right. Let me know when you're ready to move on, Don.
Okay. Looks like we're going shifting to work session.
Yep, H. Long Corporation.
Right. We did get a request for an extension permit. It wasn't within the 30 days. That was the only issue. And I asked for a status update. I never heard back from them, but as far as I know, no site work has started yet on the site.
This is just a single family home, right?
Yeah, it was that one that had the existing house that hasn't been looking for their extension permit request.
The one around that S curve where they want to build in the back, right?
Correct. Yeah. So here's the request.
With all the
And
trees flagged.
let me get you probably the most recent plans in this project change. Actually, no, those are the trees. Let me just go one back. Get your site plan. Yeah, so you've got an existing house here, wetland crossing to a house up here. And this is the one where they had a project change to take a lot of trees out in this area.
Yeah.
So as far as I know, they have not started the site activity.
Okay, so they're requesting a 3-year extension,
Right.
presumably. All right, I don't have a,
Right here, yeah. Yeah, they didn't spell out how many years they want.
I would imagine it's 3.
Yeah, I would assume.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, they put in a typo. Yeah, they sort of typed in what they were looking for here. It's out to 2023, correct. 3-year
Okay.
extension.
All right, can I get a motion to extend the order of conditions for 109 Winter Street?
So moved, it's Jim.
And a second, please.
Second. To everyone.
All right, and we'll do the roll call. Carrie?
Aye.
Jim?
Aye.
Ed? Ed?
Aye.
Janine?
Aye.
And this is Jeff, and I'm an aye. All right.
There's no I in Jeff. There is one in Jim, though.
Okay. Halt and Sudbury Valley Trustees, 0 Greenwood Road, an exemption request.
Is there anyone in the waiting room, Jeff, that might want to talk about this, or
I
is it
think
just?
Maury, I saw Maury come in earlier. I don't know if he's still on. Let me see.
I'm here too.
Yeah.
Steve Lewandowski.
I'll let Steve talk about this.
Okay, Steve, go ahead.
Okay, so so what we're proposing is a connector trail between 2 existing trails that would run through 2 parcels of land, one halt, one SVT. There's a little bit of there's an intermittent stream that this would cross, but you can step over it using boulders. So we're not proposing any bridges. And that's the photo of the intermittent stream area.
Okay. So it's just minimal clearing associated with the putting the trail in.
That's right.
Are there any vernal pools on the property that you know of?
Not that I know of. At least not near where the trail is.
Not according to the GIS.
Okay. Just wondering if there's the, possibility of putting any kind of educational signs in along the trail, related to identification of trees or wildlife, things like that. Steve, do you guys have any budget for that?
Maury might be able to talk about.
Yeah, we might have a little bit of budget for that. To make the signs vandal proof is expensive.
Yeah, I've been working on the signs. They're not cheap. They're like, $1,200 each. So
Yeah, so that's
something to think about for the future, I guess, because
yeah, we would love to have them. We have plenty of ideas, but it's expensive.
yeah, I think, those types of things like encourage, people to go out, to get out on the trail and learn about the outdoors, especially the kids. I think they enjoy it. But anyways, okay. So I think I'm good with this. Do we have any questions or comments from the commission? All right, if I get a motion to approve the exemption request
So moved. This is Ed.
and a
Jim will
second.
second. Jim, second.
Jim second. We'll do the roll call. Carrie,
Aye.
Jim,
Aye.
Ed,
Aye.
Janine,
Aye.
Jeff is an aye. Okay. Very good. Thank you, Steve.
Sure. I think we have one more.
Okay, so the next one is Halt 0 Greenwood, and this is also an exemption request. Oh, Steve, you're on this one too?
Yeah, I'll talk about this one too.
Oh,
So
okay, it just says Halt, doesn't say SVT. So,
right.
Are you with Sudbury Valley or are you with Halt?
I'm with Halt.
Oh, okay, sorry. All right, go ahead.
So this proposal is to put boardwalks across some streams and muddy areas on an existing trail. And I included some photos of the the areas where they would go. So that first one is about a 20-foot span that would be in two pieces.
It's the same construction that's been previously proposed, just two
Right.
kind of linear planks or logs with, there we go, yeah.
Yeah. So the construction would be, stringers with
Stringers, that's what I meant.
foot wide treads across.
Okay.
So it would be a pedestrian footbridge.
Through the chair.
Can you put the, yeah, sorry, Don, go ahead.
Yeah, and we've had different size footbridges. This is a little narrower. This is a 2 foot wide. We've even seen them, up to 4 feet wide.
Yeah, so Steve, one question I have is, can you put like the ramp on either side so the mountain bikes can go over it instead of going through the stream?
We could design it that way.
Because otherwise, if you have mountain bikers using the trail, if you don't have the ramp to go over the bridge, then they'll just go through the stream.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. We can make it mountain bikeable.
That'd be good, because I do a lot of mountain biking, and if there's a bridge like that doesn't have the ramp, I'm getting too old to risk, trying to get up on the bridge and injure myself. So I just go through the stream.
I can't get over anything that's higher than about a 2-inch.
Yeah, same thing with me. So
We sometimes have mountain bikers use put logs and sticks at the end of the bridge so they can get up easy.
yeah. Okay. So if you could make that kind of, modification to the design, that'd be helpful.
Yeah, we can make that happen.
Okay, questions or comments from the commission? If I can get a motion to approve the exemption request.
So moved, this is Jim.
And a second.
This is Ed, second.
And we'll do the roll call. Carrie.
Aye.
Jim.
Aye.
Ed.
Aye.
Janine.
Aye.
And Jeff's and I. All right.
Thank you.
Folks. Gentlemen.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Okay, Deal Eva, 43 Blueberry Lane. This is an exemption request. Mr. Dealiva got on when the meeting started. I guess he, oh, there he is. Hey, Mark,
Hey,
how
Jeff.
you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you, Jeff?
Yeah, it's been a long meeting. Sorry that you've had to sit there through the whole thing.
That's been interesting. It's been interesting.
How's the kids doing? All right?
Doing well. Doing well.
Excellent.
How about yours?
Good, good. Thanks. Hope you guys are staying safe.
We
All
are.
right.
We are.
So we have an exemption request. You just want to talk to us about just doing a deck extension?
Right. The house is about 26 years old. The deck is, at least the deck structure is at least that old. And it's, it's starting to get a little long in the tooth. And, as we've considered doing some improvements or replacements, we thought by extending it another 4 feet, it would, we'd get a little bit more functionality out of it.
Yeah, that's no problem. It's previously disturbed the area's grass,
Yeah.
so I don't see that as an issue. I think it's pretty straightforward. Questions or comments from the commission? If I get a motion to approve the exemption request as requested by Mr. Dealiva.
So moved, this is Jim.
So
I'll
Jim-
second. Jim will second.
So Ed made the motion, Jim is seconding, and we'll do the roll call. Carrie,
Aye.
Jim,
Aye.
Ed,
Aye.
Janine,
Aye.
and Jeff's and I. All right, you're good to go, Mark.
Great.
Thanks for
Thank you
hanging in
all.
there.
Appreciate
All
the
right.
consideration.
Yep, take care.
Take care.
Okay. So we have a complaint of an installed footbridge and trail erosion on 0 Prestwick. It's actually a nice bridge.
Yeah,
There's a complaint for that?
yeah. So it's on the town's open space. It's managed by the Parks and Rec. We have no idea who went out and built this. It's sort of it looks like it incorporates two design elements. The DCR typically has these railings along here, and Halt had this plan right here, as we talked about at their last one. I was trying to bring it up. Halt has in the past used 4-foot wide footbridges that have the ramps that you were talking about here, Jeff.
Yeah.
So it looks like a combination between Halt and DCR's footbridge guidelines. So they typically would have a 5-foot wide boardwalk, and then they would have the rails. So, but obviously, I think people were concerned, the timing of it. This wasn't probably the best time to install the footbridge. So getting access to it with whatever, I don't know what they used for machines to get the supplies out there. But obviously, if they came to the commission, would have said, I think the commission probably would have approved a footbridge of this type. And yeah, there was some complaints about the masonry that was used to support it. But seems like it's something that the commission has approved in the past for stream crossings and it was already an existing trail. So
right. So it's on Hopkinton town property?
Correct. So it's like, all right, then would it mean now that we'd have to ask for like the town to submit an after the fact request for a bridge that constructed on their land that they don't know about? Parks and Rec didn't, direct this, it was unknown to them.
Do we know who did it?
No, I mean, we had it reported that people that were walking the trail saw it as it was getting constructed, but I don't know if it was in the middle of the night, middle of the day, whatever, but no, no one's given us any proof of who did it.
I mean,
yeah, so I don't think there's much we can do unless the commission either is okay with it, or if they want it removed, then you'd have to hit the town up for saying we want it removed. It's either
I like it. It's a nice bridge. I would just say let's reach out to Halt and ask them if they know of anyone who constructed it.
Well, I don't think it's Halt wouldn't know because it's not on Halt land.
Oh, wait, so hold on a second. Someone has their hand raised. Who is it? Okay, 508-208-9299.
Hi, Jeff. Peter LaGlory.
Hey, Peter. How you
21
doing?
Hayden Rose Street. Good. How you doing?
Good, thanks.
So I'm one of the complainers, and the issue is that whoever put the bridge in didn't approach anybody. It just the bridge just sort of appeared. It is a very nice bridge. You're right. It's probably a little big for that area. It looks kind of out of place, but it's a nice bridge. The trail going there is on private land, and that got pretty well ripped up as they were bringing stuff in. It's a piece of, they use obviously a tractor to get materials down there.
Do we have any
So we don't
idea
know
who
who
did it?
The rumor is, so secondhand, is that Jane Rand was the one who put it in, but I have no idea. But one of the people who walked back there said that he talked to a guy who was working on it who said that Jane told him to put it in. So that's what, fourth hand? So take that for what it's worth.
So the Upper Charles Trail Committee or as a private resident?
Don't know.
This is Jim. We have an Upper Charles Trail Committee of which I'm liaison, hasn't met since we locked down, but I don't recall anybody voting on putting a bridge in.
All right.
Right. So the issue, Jeff, is that Steve Lewandowski has been kind of waiting patiently for us to give him permission to go build stuff. And, you know, we really can't give him permission because we can't meet yet. Here, somebody just comes and goes and puts this in. And while it's nice, they really shouldn't be doing that on town property.
No, I agree. I agree, Peter. And there's a process you have to go through. So let me do a little bit of investigative research and on my end and see if I can figure it out. And you know, we'll just have to address it at another meeting. So I'll reach out to a few folks.
Through the chair?
Yeah.
If I could make an observation. There's a lot of trails there, and then we have a bridge that appears to be the bridge to nowhere. It doesn't connect to a trail. There's no trail at the end of the bridge, at least no trail shown.
Yeah, there's a trail there.
Yeah.
So the black line is not the trail. The black line is merely pointing to the location.
Goes off to the left on the other side. I mean, someone had the, well, someone obviously owns a black and white dog. That's the first investigative.
Steve Lewandowski's dog.
Oh, okay. All right. So someone had to pay for this. You know, it doesn't look like it's a cheap bridge.
No.
So I'll do some research, Peter, and
great.
And we'll try to figure it out. Okay.
Perfect.
All right.
Thanks, Jeff.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
Have a good night.
See ya.
Okay.
You
bye.
too. Bye.
All right. Okay, Don. So I think the last item is the 6 p.m. start for the 23rd to
July 14th.
Oh, July 14th. Sorry. Right. It was July 14th for the Mass DOT Dog and Pony Show for the.
Yes, the I-95, I-90 interchange. They'd like, Mass DOT has reached out to Hopkinton and Westboro, is hoping to do a initial joint meeting, and it would be hosted by Hopkinton, and then when it's over, Westboro would leave our meeting, and then they need time to restart their own meeting. So they were hoping we could bump up to 6 o'clock instead of 6:30 to facilitate that.
Do we expect we're still going to be doing these Zoom calls on July 14th?
Yeah.
Oh,
okay. I'm sorry. Who
it'll be a Zoom call because we're going to have
Correct.
the Southborough Conservation Commission join us too.
Yeah. Okay. Good point.
So yeah, so Hopkinton would host. We would have them on first. Then Westboro would leave, and we'd continue on with our agenda after that.
Is that okay with everyone?
Yes, no issues from Janine.
It's okay with me, but I propose, I don't make a motion, but I propose noon.
That might be tough for people.
It was we were wrangling cats just to get a 6 o'clock, you know. So
Hey, Don, who's the new,
Yes, in Westboro.
yeah, who's the new lady that's there? What's her name again?
Well, no, the lady's always been there, and she was acting when Derek moved from being conservation agent. Now he's working for DPW in the town. So they just hired a new agent, and I just met him through one of the Zoom meetings we had with Mass DOT.
Oh, yeah.
He's only been there, a couple of months. So
What's his name?
God, Jason, or I just met him the once on the.
Okay.
Yep.
All
But
right.
well, he'll be on the he'll be at that joint meeting. So
And I'll just reach out to him to introduce myself at some point.
okay. I'll
Can you send me his
I'll forward you one of the emails I was kicking around, so at least you'll get a name.
Okay.
And his email.
That'd be great. Thank you. All right. I think we're good to go. So do I have a motion to adjourn?
Oh, no. I'm sorry,
Oh,
Jeff.
sorry.
We've got some public forum requests.
I didn't see those.
Yep. I'm sorry. I thought I sent the email out.
You probably
to
did. I
guys.
just didn't catch it. Oh, there we go. Okay, so Southfield Properties project change request.
Yep. I think Joe Macrodon's chomping at the bit for that one right now.
He's probably already in bed. Let's see if he's still up. Oh, yeah, there he is. Hey, Joe.
Evening.
Good evening.
We ready?
Yep, go ahead.
Yes.
Thanks for carving out some time. You may recall that 97 South Street went through review with the commission. The existing building at 97 was going to be retrofitted for the new location for Biosciences. They have done an awful lot of work on the interior, making changes to that. They'd like to begin the construction on the exterior, and two issues have come up since this approval from this board. The first is a regulation that none of us were aware of with the US FDA, the Food and Drug Administration, that plant materials within 40 feet of the doorways are strongly discouraged. The spores would travel into the clean rooms, into the labs. Would be a difficult process with a new building. Retrofitting an old building has turned to be a real bear. So once the decision was made to remove some planters, the existing planters, and rework the sidewalks along that southerly side, we're back before you folks to talk about demolition and reconstruction of the walks and some reconstruction of the pavements to get the stormwater to flow into the catch basins. So we have buffer zone at both the east and west ends of the site where construction activities on the sidewalks would fall into areas under your jurisdiction. The second one was something that really falls more on the design team. Along the northerly side is where the existing transfer switch is and where the power comes into the building. Lycan made us aware that they really would need a stable power source. So 24-hour power, backup generators in case of storms or some other reason that they would lose the power. So what we have proposed on the plans is a pad for 2 generators to provide backup power. They'll be protected with fencing and metal bollards so that there's no way for vandalism and that there will be no way for accidental vehicle traffic to strike the generators. That falls in the existing parking lot, but also in an area under your jurisdiction.
But it's all like existing pavement, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. So I think that's fine, no problem. So so going back to the other plan, Don, what trees need to be removed from the buffer or plantings?
Just a couple of minor shrubs at either end. The the South Street side and the 495 side.
So it's just shrubbery, basically?
Yeah, yep, small. Most have died off from lack of care.
Okay, that's fine. So that's basically the extent of it?
That's it.
Okay. Does Lycan own the building or are they leasing it?
They're leasing it from Southfield Properties.
From Southfield, right? Okay, got it. All right. Okay, I don't have a problem with that. Is everyone okay? Any comments, questions from the commission? All right, so if I can get a motion to approve, this was an exemption request, right, Don?
Yep, so the commission would find that it's a insignificant project change.
Okay, so we don't need to vote on it.
I think you guys usually do when it's.
Yeah, we do. I'm
order. Yeah,
sorry.
exemption request, no, but project change you usually do.
Yeah, it's a project change request. I don't have the
file number's 188-1680.
Right, okay. So if we get a motion to approve the project change request.
Janine, I'll make the motion.
So Janine is making the motion. Is there a second?
Jim will second.
Jim is seconding. So Carrie,
Aye.
Jim,
Aye.
Ed,
Aye.
Janine,
Aye.
and Jeff's an aye. All right, Joe.
Great.
You're all
Thank you very
set.
much.
Thank you.
Good night.
Good night. So 30 Twin Island.
Yes, bringing it up now. So I went out and met the homeowners, and let me scroll down to their plan here. They've got an oak tree actually growing over the house, and then they had concern with the 3 white pines that were growing along the retaining wall, and they had concerns about the retaining wall, the existing condition of it. I took some photos. That was the tree growing over the house. Here are the 3 white pines that are having some root damage in this area. But if you look along the whole length of the pond wall they have, it's underneath this dock area here. The wall keeps going up, does a 90-degree here. You can see they've got a lot of vegetation. Basically the lawn grows right up to the edge of it, and you're getting a lot of rooting in here. So they were having
Pushing the wall out.
Yeah. So what they were hoping to do was just to actually take out. They liked the small because let me show you again here. The real concerns for the wall were this area right here. But then there's also a small little dock that's owned by these folks. They thought the retaining wall in this area was good. There wasn't a lot of deterioration, and there was a line of small like shrubs, like blueberries and stuff that they liked, and they were hoping to continue having to take out the white pines and have more shrubs in this area to make an L here, and just to take away the lawn along this section, and then just put in some filter fabric and some crushed stone to hopefully get more life to maintain the existing pond wall better than what's there now. So the request is, would the commission consider that just maintenance activity, trying to maintain the existing wall, or do you think you need an RDA application to put in some crushed stone behind the existing wall area?
Are they planning on putting any other plantings in replacement of the white pines?
Yeah, exactly. So in this area, you can sort of see they want it to look sort of like this. They've got a strip of small, and there's a couple of trees in here that they'd like to take out that might become problematic, but obviously if they can keep all the little shrubs, they know that that shouldn't have an impact on the wall. So they're hoping to make what looks like here, all the small shrubs along here to go in the area right here. So you can sort of see they've got a line of shrubs here, but these 3 pine trees are just going to get bigger, and they're already growing in. The roots are already going into the wall right now.
Yeah.
And then there's a couple of like a maple tree sapling here. So the tree saplings are the concern, and obviously these 3 white pines. And then obviously then just take the grass and the earth here and just sort of put in a line of crushed stone right behind the wall to give it so it's better drainage. So hopefully it's not going to keep having hydrologic pressure against the pond wall and have it keep pushing into the lake.
Yeah, so I'm okay with them removing the pine trees there. But are they gonna put shrubs in along?
Yes. Yep.
Yeah, okay. All right.
So basically they've got shrubs right here now.
Yeah.
And then they get the pine trees. They want to extend the shrubs in this area, but then obviously take the trees out, put in the crushed stone against the wall,
Okay.
and then put in the
Plantings.
shrubs back in there, so they get a nice little, it'll give them a little buffer from, in the lake,
Yeah, I'm okay with that. And I'm okay with them removing the tree that's leaning towards the house as well.
Yep.
So the commission okay with that?
Yeah.
Well, my opinion, but my suggestion would be they might want to get an engineer to comment on putting gravel behind the wall, because in the wintertime, moisture can run down in there and freeze. And of course, when water freezes, it expands.
Through the chair.
Yeah.
Well, that's kind of the problem now. The soil holds moisture, so then you get that freeze thaw. But if you can get the soil away from the existing retaining wall and have in crushed stone, it's going to hold less. It's going to hold less water. And if they can get the filter fabric between the earth and the crushed stone, you're expecting it to be drier. Hence, you're not going to have the hydraulic pressure pushing against the retaining wall. But yeah, I'm not a structural engineer, so.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So I think everyone's in agreement. To Ed's point, just have them, take a look at that, Don, make that suggestion. It's up to them. And it's an exemption request, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, so we don't have to vote on that.
Nope.
All right. Moving along.
Yes. When we talked last, we noted on the Lucia project, we were doing the wetland replication restoration, and they had talked about the conservation restriction. And we've been following that along. It's a CR that's going to halt, and we've got the final EOEA approval that needs to get signed by the Board of Selectmen. So I remember the commission, when the first draft came out, we had some comments, but then after that, basically all the other comments that were coming through were basically between the property owner, halt, and the state EOEA. So basically, we're just looking to get. I think the Board of Selectmen want to know if the commission have any other comments on the CR. So we would basically say no. We're amenable with the halt getting the CR, and they should be. Jeez.
Yeah, I mean, Halt's changes were reasonable as I recollect, right?
Yep. Yeah.
So I'm good with it if the other commission members are.
So yeah, Lane was just asking if we could just, give because the select board will need to sign it. And I think they just want to know that the commission is amenable with the language of the CR.
All right, so is everyone comfortable with the draft final in its current condition? To just take a vote on it for, does anyone have any comments or want to push it to the next meeting to review it?
Through the chair.
Yeah,
I think the Board of Selectmen would be looking to put this on their agenda before our next meeting on the 23rd.
okay, so let's just make a motion to, approve the wording of the draft CR, as it is.
I'll make
Yeah,
that
we've been
motion.
monitoring this. I mean, the
Yeah.
CR has been going on for years, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah, yeah, I think it's fine. So why don't we just take a vote to finalize it? Is there a motion?
I made a motion, Joe.
Yeah,
I'll
oh,
take it.
sorry, Jim. In a second,
Okay.
Carrie, I'll second.
and we'll do the roll call. Carrie is an
Aye.
aye. Jim,
All right.
Ed,
Aye.
Janine,
Aye.
and Jeff's an aye. All right, Don, we're good. Let's, be nice to get that one closed out.
Yeah.
And the MVP action grants.
Yes, the principal planner just reached out to me this afternoon. He had kind of given us, because the deadline on this is 2 days from now. So he was hoping we could submit this support letter in regards to the MVP grant application that the town is submitting to EOEA.
Yeah, okay, so let me just. Yeah, I'm good with that, Don. That looks good to me.
Okay.
Everyone okay with that?
Yep.
Succinct and to the point, and gets. It gets our point across, so, okay.
Okay, I will issue that to the principal planner.
And that, what's the new principal planner's name again?
John Gelchit, and Ben also in the grants office is obviously driving the bus as well. So it's
There was someone else that I saw copied on one of our emails.
This one that came in?
No. Hold on. No, I'll follow up with you later. I don't want to tie everyone up. It's been a long meeting, so. Okay, is there a motion to adjourn?
Jim will make that
Motion.
And a
I'll second
second?
it. I'll second it. Jim
All
will second.
right, and I'll do the roll call. Carrie,
Aye.
Ed,
Aye.
Janine,
Aye.
Jim,
Aye.
and Jeff's and I. All right, thank you,
Yes.
everyone.
Hey, is our next meeting at 6:30?
6.
Yes.
Oh, 6:30, right.
Right,
The
okay.
July one is at
Yeah,
6.
it's just a one time. The 14th
Yep.
of July would be the 6th, and then we'd be going back to the 6:30 on July 28th.
Okay.
Yeah, hopefully we'll all be getting together in person soon. So, everyone be safe.
I've already had 2 birthdays since this thing started. Or
Happy
at least it
birthday,
seems that
Jim.
way. Oh, thanks. All right, see you, everybody.
All right, guys. Good night.
All right.
Aye.